Right now, if I were to take my presentation and click present, I would get my slides and I would use the arrow key or the space bar to advance the slides. All of the slides just sort of pop up one at a time, just all at once. There are some things that I can do to change the way that the slides transition from one to the next and also the way that these different elements come up. For example, on this slide, instead of having all of this come up at once, I can set it up so that all of these bullets come up one at a time. Let's take a look at how you do that. I'm going to click on this text box and I'm going to right click and choose animate. Another way to get to that would be to go to the insert menu and choose animation from there. But I'll start with right clicking and going to animate. So I get a sidebar that opens up for animations and it's suggesting that I fade in this text box and that it happens when I click it. This is called the trigger. So this is what the animation is and this is the trigger that makes it happen. Let's go ahead and keep this the way it is and click present to see what happens. So the title comes up and then when I click the space bar, all of the bullets come in at once. But I want them all to come in separately. So I'm going to hit escape and I'm going to change that animation a little bit. I'll click on the animation and I'm going to click by paragraph. So let's hit present again. Now when I click the space bar, I get the first one and then the next one, and they only come in as I click. So that's how you get those things to come in. Now there are other types of animation. Instead of fading in, I could have them flying in from the right, for example. Let's see what that looks like. I'm going to click play this time because you can also watch the animation right in this screen. If I click play, it just shows you here. So when I press the space bar now, they fly in one at a time. These types of animations can get very annoying to your audience though, and so if you're going to use animations, don't choose things that are going to take too much time. So that is how you add an animation. You can also do this with images. Click out of here for now. I could make this rug come in. Same way, I click to the right, choose animate, and maybe I could just have it fade in. Now, instead of the trigger being a click, sometimes I wouldn't necessarily want to have to click every time. I can also just change it to after previous. That means that it would fade in right after the last thing that came on the screen. If I play now, see that the screen comes up and it just comes right after that title. It was almost barely noticeable. So I'm going to click that again and I'm going to have it fade in a little bit slower and see if that looks any different. So now it comes in a little slower. I can animate more than one thing on the screen. If I wanted to have this title come in before this, I could add an animation to that and have it fade in. Maybe I'll have this also fade in after the previous. So what I have right now is I have the rug fading in first, and then I have the title fading in. Let's see what that looks like. I'll click present this time. Fades in very slowly, and then the title. Maybe I want to speed that up. Now I didn't have to click anything to make that happen. So those are some of the things that you can do. If I want the title to come in before the rug, I can rearrange them. Click stop. If I just click this, I can actually drag it before the other one, and then the order is different. And if I decide I want to remove an animation altogether, maybe I don't want this to fade in after all, then I would just click on it and I would click that X, and that it doesn't delete the item, it just deletes the animation. So now it would look like this. I can also change what it looks like when you go from slide to slide. I'll click over here, for example. Click present. And then as I go from slide to slide, it just shifts from slide to slide. Nothing special happening. And that's actually a perfectly fine way to go from slide to slide. But you may want to do something a little bit more creative. So let's go to this one, for example. If I want to change the way this slide goes to the next one, I'll click transition. And that's another way of opening up the animations pane. So transitions are how the slides go from slide to slide. Animations are how the elements on the individual slides come in. I'm going to change no transition to slide from left. So now if I'll go to the slide before it, click present, this one comes in like that. And now when I hit the space bar to go to the next slide, let's see how it comes in. It slides in like that instead. I could make it dissolve. Let's present that time. Go back one slide. Okay, so from here, when I switch to the next slide, this is what it looks like. It sort of dissolves in. You can sort of see both pictures at once. So whatever I choose to do, I could just give that transition to that slide, or I can click apply to all slides and then they will all come in that way. So I'm going to change it to flip and apply it to all slides. I'll start at the beginning and I'll click present. So when I switch to the next slide now, it flips like that. If I decide I want to remove it, then I just go to no transition and I can apply that to all slides. Look along the sides here. You see how there's this little symbol here? This means that there's an animation applied to those two slides and there's none others. If I choose to do a fading transition and then I apply it to all slides, then that animation symbol shows up in all of the others. Whereas if I change it to no transition and click apply to all slides, those disappear. And that's how you do animations and transitions.